Port Richmond Tigers. I was a Port Richmond Tiger. Right there on the corner is the Leprechauns. They were the Port Richmond Tigers' arch rival. In this playground here, that's Cahawk's playground. That's where the Port Richmond Tigers played. When you weren't on the traveling team or a T-ball team, you more than likely played here. Port Richmond Tigers. Port Richmond Tigers were started by a guy named Keith Daly. Keith was a cop. And I don't know how he came to start it. I used to know this story. But Keith had a son named Sean Daly. Now, every summer in this field in Cahocksink, as some call it, they have a tournament, the Sean Daly softball tournament. And I think it's over 20 years they've been doing it. Port Richmond, they've been doing this memorial softball tournament for Sean. Sean was tragically murdered in 1980 something. I'm gonna show you some stories. Tell you the story of Sean Daly. Not the story of Sean Daly, just his tragic passing, what happened. So here, like I said, it's Cahawks. Sean was a part of the Tigers too. He was a coach. I think he played for a little bit when he was younger. Like in his teenage years, he played on this field. All right. So, right down the street from Cahawks, which is right there, is Monmouth Street. This is Monmouth Street. I haven't been down this street in years. And, wow, it's been so long now, I'm not sure. I think it's the one with the lion. One of these two houses, one of the porch houses, that's where the Dalys lived. And I think it's 2517. I'm not 100% certain. It's been so many years since I was last there, but that's where the Dalys lived. So you can see Keith Daly, Sean Daly, Keith had a lot of pride in Port Richmond. Lived in Port Richmond, started a baseball organization in Port Richmond, and all the kids in the neighborhood took care of it. Took advantage of Keith and his kindness, and we all played baseball, and he was a good guy in the neighborhood. So that's where Sean and Keith and Mrs. Daly, that's where they all lived. All right. And I'm at the corner of Belgrade and Ann. And in May 20th, 1989, which was a sunny, clear day. I remember the day. There was a group of kids that lived on the other side of Ann Street, and they were all hanging out pretty much on this corner. Used to be Frank the Tailors here. And the guys in the corner were hanging out. And back in the 89, this alleyway was open. Sean went in the alleyway to go to the bathroom. A bunch of guys came up down the street with baseball bats and guns. The guys hanging on the corner with Sean, they saw the guys with the bats and guns ran away. They forgot that Sean was in the alleyway. And Sean got beaten with bats and he was shot. And he survived a day or two. And it happened right in this area right here. And the reason why I know this is because when I was a kid, I lived in this house right here on the Ann Street. Not the one with you on it, the one next to it. And my dad was close to the Daly family. So we heard a bop bop. We were sitting in that living room in that house right there, the White House, not this one, the one next door. And I remember my dad was one of the first people who ran out. It was firecrackers. It was near Memorial Day and all that stuff. Came running out, and we saw Sean lying on the ground here. And now they have a little plaque in this memorial dedicating the memory of 17-year-old Sean Daly. He was only 17 years old. May 20th, 1989, was attacked by 10 teenagers, beaten with bats and shot while standing on the corner of Belgrade and Ann at Port Richmond. Sean died on the 21st, 1989. The brutal beating uh, inf- inflicted on him. He attended North Catholic. He died because of it's hard to read this. It's kind of faded. He attended North Catholic High School for Boys. He was a player as well as a coach in the Port Richmond Little League Baseball, which is Port Richmond Tigers, and was well respected throughout the neighborhood. Son, you still exist in the minds of those who knew and love you, but more importantly, in their hearts. And that's probably something Keith wrote. Yeah, great. So, after I'm getting all emotional. Keith was never the same after it. He still ran the Tigers, but he didn't. He passed away a few years, a while ago. But that right there. So when you go to the Sean Daly Memorial Softball Tournament, and you don't know the story, because it's been so many years. God, it's 30 years. That's the corner where Sean Daly was murdered. And, hold on. And, in Bridesburg, I'm at the grave now of Sean Daly. There used to be a picture of him here. And there's Keith Daly, who is buried here. Diane was the mother's name. Diane was buried here. Okay, wow. So, the moral of the story is violence does not solve anything. Keith did a lot of good in the neighborhood and made Port Richmond a really good place. There is no telling what good Sean Daly could have done. And it's kind of crazy. Keith passed away in 2002. The Port Richmond Tigers are still going, 20 years almost to his death. And so, yeah, pretty much that's the violence doesn't solve anything. And be nice to everybody. And next time you go to the Sean Daly Memorial Tournament, think about Sean. Think about Keith. Think about how much good they did and are still doing to this day in Port Richmond. And if you're ever in Bridesburg, come by and pay your respects. All right. Toodles.